What a day for a daydream, custom made for a daydreaming boy. How you doing? Hey, thanks a lot for stopping by Tom's Cabin, where we talk about our passion for books and the written word. Pull up a stump by the fire, pull up an Adirondack chair, and let's sit down and talk story. Got a great show for you this week. We have a certified real world best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author, USA Today best-selling author, Jim Butcher. And he's got a new book coming out and author of the Dresden Files. We're going to talk to him in a minute. Fascinating, fascinating stuff. Also going to take a look at audiobooks this week. What's happening in the audiobook realm? Man, really popular. I love it. Now we're seeing more and more audiobooks with multiple voice actors, which is very exciting. It's almost like the old radio shows back in the 30s and 40s. We're going to talk about that. We got book news for you, maybe a couple of book promos, and maybe even stick around to the end, a giveaway of my latest ebook. Ooh, it's exciting. So let's get started. Oh, one other thing. If you have something that you'd like us to cover, or maybe a book or some music that you would like to cover, send us an email, bookinfo@nextstopparadise.com, and you'll get an answer right away. And if you'd like to come on the show, we'd love to have you. Love to have you. We're nothing but fun and information here at Tom's Cabin, Books and More. And away we go. Well, we've been having great luck with great guests, and this week is no exception. I'm super excited about having our next guest on the show. New York Times bestselling author Jim Butcher is the creator of the Dresden Files, which everybody's heard of, the Codex Alera, and the new steampunk series, or fairly new, the Cider Spires. His resume includes a laundry list of skills which were useful a couple of centuries ago, and he plays guitar quite badly, according to his bio. We'll talk about that. Jim currently resides mostly inside his own head, but his head can generally be found in the mountains outside of Denver, Colorado, a beautiful area of the country. And Jim goes by the moniker Longshot in a number of online locales. He came by this name in the early 1990s when he decided he would become a published author. Usually only 3 in 1,000 who make such an attempt actually manage to become a published author making a livable wage. Of those, only 1 in 10 make enough money to call it a living. The sale of his second series was a breakthrough that led him to beat the long odds against attaining a career as a novelist. All the same, he refuses to change his nickname. He wrote his first novel when he was 19. Wow. In a recent interview, he says, quote, "It was horrible, really bad," he said recently. Quote, "I wrote the first Dresden book for a writing class. I wrote the second one the next semester. I then started on the third one. I submitted the manuscript for the first Dresden book to several agents and editors and got rejected and or pretty much ignored." He said, he continued, "Rejection shouldn't discourage you. It's just part of the day, like a thunderstorm or a car horn. It happens. It isn't personal, and if you get stopped cold at one door, you might be warmly welcomed at another. Breaking into print is an arduous and discouraging process for darn near everyone who makes it in. And here's a secret of how to get published, according to Mr. Butcher. Keep trying. Keep going. When the guy next to you quits, keep going. When the girl next to you sobs and throws her manuscripts into the fire, keep going. Keep conducting yourself like a professional, and you will eventually get someone who believes in you and your talent. If you're lucky, maybe even believes in you as a person, unquote. Truer words were never spoken. He is an award-winning author, New York Times, USA Today best-selling author. He's got a brand new book coming out. So please help me welcome to the show the one and only Jim Butcher.
Hey guys,
So how are you today?
I'm doing quite well.
Now you are up in the mountains of Colorado.
I am. I'm out in the foothills these days. I live in a town called Monument. The mountains are close enough that they make sunset come about an hour sooner. And I am basically as close to civilization as you can be and still have to be concerned with bears and mountain lions.
Well, you have as successful as you are, we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Fastest growing show on
Absolutely.
BookTube. Well, I guess my
Nice.
my first question to you is, how does it feel to be such a successful author? Uh, when you started
Um,
back when you were 19, did you envision this?
I didn't really think it'd go quite this far. I mean, things kind of I just started writing my dumb little wizard books and things got completely out of hand. Yeah, I never really kind of thought this far ahead. Mostly when I was younger and trying to become a writer, I really just wanted to work a job where I wouldn't have to wear a tie.
I'm so there with you. Look at your career. Books, ebooks, audiobooks, television, motion pictures, video games, role-playing card games. You have really explored all kinds of options. Which is your favorite?
I I've been very fortunate. Oh, I really enjoyed working on the comic books. That was a lot of fun because it was a very different sort of writing. I remember when I was writing the first script and I was writing much more detailed scripts when I wrote them myself. And they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but I was writing the script and trying to describe the picture. So it was an awful lot of words to be written in order to get that done. I was trying to exercise too much creative control, I think. I would write these scenes where there would be dialogue, and the comic book guys would come back to me and say, "We can't have this much dialogue." I said, "Why not?" So, well, it takes up space on the picture to put the dialogue bubble in there, and if we write this much dialogue, it won't be a graphic novel. It'll just be a novel because it'll just be dialogue bubbles. You're gonna have to find a way to make this conversation a lot shorter. And it's like, oh wow, okay, new challenge.
I was a little bit
Uh,
familiar with graphic novels and looked them up, and they are super popular. And it's kind of like
oh yeah.
a comic book for adults, right?
Hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, comics have changed a lot over the years. They were a kids thing early on, and they were marketed as such. In the '80s, a lot of the comics that I've read, the writing's been a lot more sophisticated than that. They ask some big questions. In fact, I think comics are written at generally speaking, at a little bit higher grade level than your average novel. I mean, they're really a complex sort of art form, which I knew, because I've been reading them for a long time, when I started working with them. But even so, actually balancing, how many words you get to put down versus how much you convey through action and the images on the page. It's a really delicate balance, and you've got to do your creativity along with somebody else because you're working with this artist, who also has their own cool stuff that they want to do. They should get to do cool stuff too because you're doing something together.
And I assume that you work very closely with the illustrator, yeah?
On the first one I did, as we kind of went in, where we sort of agreed, you know what, maybe I could do an outline for a story and have a professional comic book script guy do a script for the story, because otherwise I'm going to be writing, in order to try and keep up with these comic book contracts that were not really large, I was still going to be doing a novel's worth of writing, and so if I'm going to do that, I want to write a novel. That's my first love.
And when you do that sort of thing, do you actually give the illustrator or the animator, if you went that way, directions like stage directions like you would in a script?
In that first script I did, I wrote it more or less like a TV script, and it seemed to come off, close enough that they were able to work with it. That was a graphic novel called Welcome to the Jungle. But as we went along, it was like, okay, you know what? I just want to kind of give the story, and then that way, the guy who's writing the script can say, okay, we're just going to have several pages of action here that are not necessarily even going to have dialogue. It's going to be completely up to the artist to, convey the flow of everything that's happening. It's like, oh, okay. I started to kind of get to see better how it was getting done.
I,
All the same, it was a cool thing to work with.
and then I assume there's a creative back and forth of tweaks and such.
Oh, always,
Yeah.
always.
Let me ask you this. When you're involved in so many different mediums, do you do separate negotiations and contracts and relationships, or is that all under one umbrella?
Um, it's a big mess. It's a big interwoven net of various agreements in various countries with various publishers. I think I'm in the 23 or 24 different languages now. Different deals with all those publishers, different rights for everything. How long they're going to be keeping rights for publishing and so on. That's different for everybody. Right now I've got the TV rights out, and a lot of the merchandising rights went with that, but not the video game rights, because those I get to keep in case there's a video game in the future. But yeah, I mean, things are going really well. I mean, I've got an agent to help me keep track of all that. That's kind of her job, as she goes out and finds me deals in other countries and says, "Hey, what do you think about this offer?" And I say, "Well, they're going to hand me money. I'm not going to have to do more work. I think that's a great offer. Let's take that." So I tend to be a real low maintenance kind of client.
And hopefully you have an accountant keeping track of all that, yeah?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Do you think that most readers know what authors go through to bring a book to market?
Well, I mean, they'll have, kind of an intellectual idea, but they won't necessarily know what, look forward to all the consequences of the basic idea of what it means for the real world. I have to explain to people all the time. By the time I finish a book, I've seen between, 5 and 8 slightly different versions of the same book. So by the time I'm 15 books into a series, right now I'm writing book 19 of this particular series. By the time I'm that far into the series, I don't have a memory of the one timeline that actually finished. I've got kind of this cloud of memories of similar novels that small details changed along the way while they were being edited. So I often that's why I need help when it comes to getting detail work straight in the Dresden Files, because people, I will have changed people's hair color 3 times and not remembered it. By the time I'm 3 books down the line, and I'm rewriting that character, and I'll write, this character's brown hair and green eyes. Oh, they had blonde hair and blue eyes. Oh, okay, thank you, beta reader. I need to be reminded of that. These days, I can go check the Wikipedia. The fans put a Wikipedia together, and they did it so much harder than I would do my own notes. They went so much heavier on it because it's their fun, and for me, it's just work. But for them, it's their fun, so they went hard, and they're nerds, so they went hard. So I can, whenever I have questions now, I can go check the Wikipedia. Okay, what does this character look like? When did we last see him? Oh, yeah, everything's cross-referenced and cross-linked right here. I can just go to this one page, find out everything I need.
It's amazing. We just did a special show on romance books, and you kind of remind me a little bit of a romance, because your fans are just so rabid. They are just into it in a big way. So now I counted, you have about 25 books out now? Did I?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
This will be 18 in the Dresden Files, and there's 2 short story anthologies to go along with that, so that's 20. 26, because the Alera books make it 26. There's been a couple of Cinder Spires that makes it 28, and then the Spider-Man book makes it 29.
Very exciting.
And then plus I've edited some short story collections, so there's some more that are on there.
And you have the new book, 12 Months, shipping in January, and it's a bestseller. How about that?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate.
That's got to make you feel what? Can you tell us a little bit about what it's about?
Okay, 12 Months is following up the events of Battleground. We had a giant supernatural battle happen in the city of Chicago that revealed the supernatural world to all the mortals of the city. Harry Dresden, he made some sacrifices. He lost some friends, including his closest friend, his girlfriend Karen Murphy, died during the battle. And this next book, most of the time when I write a Dresden book, I'm writing Harry's worst weekend of the year. That's kind of what I think. What was his worst weekend this year? That's what I'm going to write about. This time though, the book is set out. It's spaced out over a period of a year, and Harry is facing a lot of different problems. Now, Harry is very much a direct, kick down the door, save the day sort of guy. That's sort of his strength. But the problems that he's facing now are not problems that you can kick down doors to save people. There are people going without. There's people going hungry. The city's infrastructure has been destroyed, by all this magical energy that destroyed all the technology in Chicago. Horrible things are happening, and Harry has suffered horrible personal losses, and he's trying to figure out how to recover from them and how to put his life back together again. This is a book in a lot of ways about how do you handle it when life just kicks your legs out from under you, because every once in a while it'll do that to you. And you find yourself in that horrible place, when somebody's died or you've lost a relationship or something has happened that things have not turned out the way you expected. And how do you put yourself back together? How do you get yourself back up on your feet? And that's the problem Dresden's facing in this book. And so we sort of look at that. But there's a bunch of new characters, kind of a bunch of continuing storylines, and we still got all the standard magical mayhem going on and confrontations. But there's a lot of conflict that Harry's trying to figure out how to resolve that isn't in his wheelhouse of let's blow some stuff up. That's been a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun to write, and kind of a challenge for me.
Which came first, his ability to be involved in magic, or as an investigator?
Within the story, he was a wizard first, and I was also thinking wizard first probably while I was putting things together. Although I did when I was assembling him, I just assembled him out of the pieces of my favorite wizards and my favorite PIs. I just grabbed my favorite wizards, favorite PIs, and started putting them together to figure out who I was gonna have him, which traits I was gonna have him embody from these various wizard characters. So I took Gandalf and Alanon from the Elfstones, and Belgarath from the Belgariad, and Merlin, and then I mixed and cut off the parts that I wanted. And then I mixed them up with Sherlock and Spencer and Dashiell Hammett's main character. I forget what his name is now. It just slipped my mind. And Travis McGee. Those were my favorite PI characters. And so I grabbed parts from various ones and kind of chopped them up and put them back together into this Frankenstein and named him Harry Dresden. That was kind of how the character got started.
Well, it's a fascinating. I'm a newbie, and I'm looking forward to reading them, because it just grabbed me right from the get-go. A couple other quick questions. This last summer in August, you let loose with a series of what they call dramatized audiobooks, Stormfront and such. Tell us a little bit about those.
Graphic audio is a throwback to the old days of radio plays, where they will not only be reading the book, but they're reading the book as if it's a script, with like character voice, different actors doing different character voices, with a narrator, with sound effects, with background music. And, and then they put all of that together and produce it as an hours-long radio play, more or less. So it's not a direct reading of the book, but it's like a radio play reading of the book, with various actors acting out the different roles. I thought it was a great idea, and it was a lot of fun.
The other question I had was, does it run in the family? I guess it does, because in my research, it seems that your son is also a successful author.
He's doing quite well for himself. Yeah, I'm very pleased for him. When he went off to college, he went to KU because they have a writing program at KU. A science fiction program. It's pretty good, and so he was going to that writing program. And when he was going off to school, I took him to one side and said, "Son, if you ever want to learn how to write, I'll teach you." And he's like, Dad, I think we should leave this to the professionals. I was like, okay, fair enough. And so off he went to college, and he went off to learn things in college. It's funny because he kind of had the same attitude I did. And then by the time he's done with college, he comes to me and he says, Dad, I think maybe it's possible that you know some things about writing that those guys don't know. Are you still willing to teach me? I'm like, yes, son, I'm still willing to teach you. So he was an apprentice of mine for 7 years or so. He was learning, we would get together twice a week, and we would go work out, and then we'd go get pho from the nearest Vietnamese place. And then we'd go back home and we would watch something, and we'd watch something together, and we'd talk about the writing of it. So I started him off on some of the shows that I think are the best written shows, which was started off Babylon 5, because I thought that was, as far as as character and story arcs and the way they tied that together. I thought that's one of the best written shows on TV. And so, we had fun, we had fun looking at that. And then we would look at the next one. Okay, now let's look at Stargate SG-1 and look at the strong points of the writing on this show. How they wound up developing it. Now we'll look at Supernatural, and we kind of went through series after series and just kept talking about the writing. And then he'd start working on his stuff, and I would treat him the way Debbie had treated me. And until finally he had a book that I thought was strong enough. I said, okay, I think this is of the right quality. Let's see what you get out of it. He wound up getting published with it.
Amazing.
But I mean, it certainly helped that he had, he got to do an apprenticeship, with somebody who, was already in the business and knew what was going on.
Well, it's pretty exciting that you think you guys will ever work together on a novel together, maybe as a partnership?
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm when it comes to the writing, I'm kind of a terrible diva. I mean, I've got how I want to do it, and I want to do it the way I'm going to do it, and I don't necessarily get along well with enough people to try and do something like that. I don't know. I think if I could do it with anyone, it would be my son. Possibly with my wife, Jen Blackstream. She's also an author. I might be able to work with her as well, but I don't know that I could work with anybody else. For on the creative end of things.
Well, just to key in on one thing you said, I was shocked at how much my parents learned between when I was 20 and when I was 25.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Dad, I
Yeah.
knew that you knew that. This is kind of just on a sideline on myself. I am shocked at the sharks in Hollywood. I have been approached by one of the big five to buy my catalog of books, and we've been
Okay.
exploring that a little bit. But you're well familiar with these guys. They send you agreements which say stuff like throughout the known galaxy in perpetuity in the
Yep,
it's like
they do.
so if we land on Mars, you still own the book. Is that what I'm
Right.
how do you find a good entertainment lawyer? Are there any?
Um, I don't know. I got one. Mine exists through my agent, which is the Donald Moss agency. And they went out and found a partner. They went out and partnered with a California firm to be able to represent their authors. And so far, that's been working out for me. All right. I mean, California is one of those places where, my teacher told me in college. She taught us all. Listen, as far as Hollywood deals go, yes, they happen, but really you can't count on anything from Hollywood until the check is cleared. Nothing's final until the check is cleared. There will be an awful lot of talk in Hollywood, but until that money's in the account, don't give any of it too much weight. And I have found that to be excellent advice. So because there's lots of things that they've tried to make things happen over the years, and they've sort of gotten somewhere and then fallen apart for one reason or another. I mean, it's just sort of an inherently unstable industry, as most creative industries are.
Do you ever wish that you would have gone the independent self-publishing route?
I mean, at this point, it seems kind of churlish to wish things had gone any differently than they had. I mean, honestly, how many people get the kind of career that I've gotten? So why? I mean, I could now at this point. I mean, I could go, okay, I'm going to finish the Dresden Files independently, and let's do a fundraiser, and but then I would have to essentially become a publisher to be able to do all the publishing things. I mean, it would make a lot more money, but I would have to, become kind of I would have to become kind of a Bond villain. I think that's what's happened to Sanderson, right? He had the big fundraiser, and then he formed his company, and now he's got this underground, Bond villain headquarters that he runs things out of, which I'm jealous of, and I'm so pleased for him. I'm so happy for that guy. But yeah, I've been so far just been happy working with the publishers, and I see myself still doing that for quite a while yet to come.
But sir, that's a big aha right there. You just let loose. I don't think you realize it. So there will be other Dresden books beyond 12 months.
Oh well, yes, yes, yeah. There's going to be about 22 books in the series, like we've had so far, the case books, and then and this is book 18. So we're gonna have 22 of the books like we've had so far, and then the big trilogy will finish off the end of it. So I've got a 3-book trilogy to kind of capstone the whole series. That's all going to be involved in one big storyline, and hopefully that will come together with a nice bow at the end. I hope it'll work out.
Well, you have a remark, just in the sample chapters and some of the other stuff involved with these books in my research. You've got a remarkable ability of world building, and really great dialogue. I mean, realistic dialogue, like
Oh, thank you for that.
the way people really talk.
Try
And
to.
so I want to just kind of close because I know you're busy. I always ask my guests this one thing. If there
Okay.
was if there was one thing that you wished readers knew about Jim Butcher's books, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. Mostly, I would want everyone to know where they're available and how they can be bought most easily. Uh, but other than that, I would say I would wish that more readers wrote. Is what I would wish. That more people were writing their own books. It gives you more of an appreciation for how much effort has to go into it, in order to make it happen. Because just the most exhausting question I'll get, and it's going to be one of the first questions I get too when I on opening night of the tour. When this is opening night of the tour, the first night the book's up, first time I'm signing books for people. The first question I'm going to get is, when's the next one? And I'm going to be like, you haven't even read this one yet. Give me some time, I'll get on it. But that is always the first question. So if anything, I would if I wish that readers knew anything about books, it was how much love, how much care, how much effort has to go into creating one.
Well, I want to add, so I know we got print books, we got ebooks, we got audio books. Where can they find you?
Well, you can find my books pretty much anywhere books are sold. If you're going into a Barnes and Noble, or I think there's a few Borders that are still left. There might be even be a B Dalton or two hanging around the country. But any bookstore you should be able to find my books. Most libraries will be carrying them. Otherwise, all the online booksellers, you'll be able to find them there. If you want to buy ebooks, they're available, pretty much wherever ebooks are sold, except for some of my novellas that I've done independently recently. But pretty much, you can always go to my website. Go Google Jim Butcher, and my website will be one of the first pages that comes up. And so I will always have lists there of where you can, which stuff I have published and where you can publish it.
Can they buy direct from you for autographed copies or something?
No, but I do have an address on my home webpage, and if you email them and get in touch with them, we can work out how to get some copies signed, and I'm always happy to do that.
And are there any appearances that you want to plug?
Well, I'm going to be appearing. You can check my website. I'm going to be there's basically a card there. That's at jimbutcheronline.com. And that will show you where I'm going to be on my tour. So if I'm going to be in one of your towns, come by and see us. We usually have a good time.
Are you coming by the Southland at all? Down here, Florida, the land of the blue hairs.
Oh, man, I rarely get east of the Mississippi. Really? Let's see. I'm going to be. I think as close as I'm going to get to you is Houston.
Hey, Jim, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it. And we'll definitely put the website and all that information in the show notes and at the bottom of the page. Thanks again for coming.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to 12 months. When it comes out, we'll definitely put it in our book section and let people know all about it. Thanks so much. Continue success.
Awesome. Thank you very much, sir.
Take care. From the sea, from the air, from the land, the latest in news and perspectives on books and music here at Tom's Cabin. This week, our spotlight is on bookstores, the world's largest bookstores. I love bookstores. Do you? I do too. I love bookstores. And let's take a look at the world's largest bookstore. There's a little controversy going on right now, a little battle going, east-west coast battle going on. Powell's City of Books, located in Portland, Oregon, is the world's largest independent bookstore, spans an entire city block, as you'll see in the pictures, and offers about 5 million new and used books now, probably more than that. It is a true phenomenon. The whole city block, you see it there. It is situated in the Pearl District of Portland, Oregon. Powell's City of Book occupies a massive space of approximately 70,000 square feet and features a collection of about 5 million titles across various genres. It's got a bunch of unique features. You know, finding your way, you can actually, when you get there, they give you a map. The bookstore is divided into 9 different color-coded sections or rooms. Each houses thousands of different subject variations, but it makes it easy for visitors to navigate through their extensive offerings. They also have a very cool rare book room, which I'm always into, nice coffee shop, and they host frequent author events and community discussions. But Powell's really is not just a bookstore. Over the years, it's become a cultural hub for the community, promoting local authors and engaging in various community outreach programs about literacy. The store's commitment to fostering a love for reading and supporting independent literature has made it a beloved landmark, not only in Portland, but on the entire West Coast. Visitors to Powell's can expect a welcoming atmosphere filled with the smell of books and the charm of winding aisles. Their iconic pillar of books is at the entrance and symbolizes the literary treasures within, inviting book lovers to explore and discover new reads. The pillar of books is about. It's been a long time since I've been there, but it was easily 2 stories. It's in the vestibule, in the atrium, and it is huge. It is huge. Powell's City of Books stands out as a must-visit destination. If you're anywhere on the West Coast and you're anywhere in the Portland area, you simply must go by Powell's. Whether you're searching for a rare book or if you just want to immerse yourself in the world of books, Powell's is the place to be. It is unparalleled. Now, there is a battle going on, an east-west battle between Powell's on the West Coast and Barnes & Noble in Union Square in New York City. Here's the difference. Powell's is an independent bookstore. Barnes & Noble is part of a chain. So Barnes & Noble is claiming to be the world's largest bookstore, corporate chain, a chain bookstore. And meanwhile, Powell's, the world's largest independent bookstore. So, it's the same difference, right? But Barnes & Noble, flagship store in Union Square in New York City, and it is also a book lover's paradise. It spans 4 floors, over 6,200 square feet, and houses millions of titles. Probably not as big as Powell's, but, a couple million titles. And beyond books, it offers a beautiful cafe, a large collection of music and DVDs. It really is a media supermarket, if you will. Offers music, DVDs, books, hosts easy for me to say, hosts regular author events and reading events, slam poetry events. Barnes & Noble in Union Square, New York City is a cultural hub in one of the world's most literary cities. And they claim the world's largest bookstore measured by square footage and being corporate versus independent. They are right there at on Fifth Avenue and 18th Street in New York City. I've been there, and it has. This is also interesting. Has 54,000 square feet and 12.87 miles of shelving. So go check out those two huge bookstores. We'll send in a search party if you get lost. Powell's in Portland, Oregon, and Barnes and Noble in Union Square, New York City. Well, there you have it. The world's largest bookstores, independent and corporate. Go check them out if you're ever on the West Coast. Powell's in Portland, Oregon, and Barnes and Noble in Union Square, New York City. The two largest bookstores on the planet, battling it out for your book dollars. I hope you enjoyed it. The world's largest bookstores. Okay, so next up, let's take a look at the top 10 books. These are just basically a conglomeration of sales, postings on different forums, people talking about these books, promotions and such like that. We'll put all that together and come up with top 10 books for fiction, nonfiction, and for audiobooks. Let's take a look. Hey, put on your laughing hat. It's time for the joke of the week. Coleman exhaled through his nose, a thin stream of breath white in the cool air. Quote, "You've been listening to the radio man gossip again, haven't you?" Unquote. Quote, "I've been listening to the radio man read BDU signals," Brandt shot back. "We've lost boats and the gaps in the radio traffic is louder than the messengers. It's not gossip when your friends simply stop answering," unquote. His voice cracked a little on the last word, and suddenly Coleman saw him not as his sometimes irritating first officer, but as what he was, a 20-something from Hamburg who watched too many faces vanish one patrol at a time. Quote, "War is loss," Coleman said. "We lose men, so do they," unquote. Quote, "They can afford it," Brandt replied. "The Americans have just come into this war. They've got more ships, more planes, more factories than Germany will ever have. We," he gestured vaguely east toward a homeland thousands of kilometers away. Quote, "We have cities being bombed, fuel shortages, Russians grinding us down in the snow somewhere near Stalingrad. Isn't that what the last signal hinted at? Quote, heavy fighting on the Eastern Front? It always means we're in trouble." Quote, "Signals are one thing," Coleman said. "Defeatism is another," unquote. Quote, "Realism," Brandt said. "Defeatism," Coleman repeated more sharply. "You think I don't see the odds? You think I haven't read the same reports that you have? You think that I'm blind because I intend to follow our orders?" Unquote. Brandt's hands clenched behind his back until the knuckles showed white. Quote, "I think your sense of duty is going to get us all killed," unquote. "Respectfully, sir," unquote. There it was, naked, blunt, the thing men only whispered in bunks or muttered into their blankets. Quote, "Speak plainly, Oberlieutenant," Coleman said quietly. Quote, "You believe we should what? Turn around, sail to Cuba and surrender, fly a white flag to some American destroyer?" Unquote. Quote, "I think," Brandt said, forcing each word, quote, "I think that an intelligent officer should recognize when the war is lost, and that sacrificing 70 men on a U-boat cattle car for the sake of tonnage tally in Berlin is madness pure and simple," unquote. Quote, "You call me mad then?" unquote, said the captain. Quote, "No." Brandt's gaze dropped, then rose again. "No, sir, I think you're an honorable man, but that honor is chained to insanity. It is not treason to want to live for the future of Germany." Coleman's hand tightened on the rail. The urge to snap a reprimand, to invoke regulations, and maybe even a court-martial would have been easy. He was captain. Command out here was absolute. But the anger that rose was tangled with something else, an understanding. There were nights he lay awake on his narrow bunk, listening to the air pump drum thump over and over, and the hull whispering under its pressure, wondering if he was honorable or simply afraid of being dishonorable. Quote, "My honor," he said slowly, "is chained to my oath," unquote. Quote, "To Hitler, you mean?" unquote, Brandt said. " Quote, "To Germany," Coleman snapped. " Quote, 'To Germany," Brandt said. " Quote, 'To Germany," Coleman snapped. 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 Brant took half a step back at the force of it. Is there still a difference? Unquote. Yes, Coleman said, so softly it was almost a plea. Yes, there is. He looked out over the Black Sea, where the line between water and sky was a suggestion more than a fact. Quote, when I took my oath, when I was a cadet at Kiel, long before all of this, he waved a hand as if he could indicate an entire nightmare of the last year with a single gesture. Quote, I swore to serve the fatherland, to defend her seas and her people, to uphold the traditions of the Navy we inherited from men like Tripitz and Ryder, not the brown shirt rabble, but the true sailors. Quote, but the oath now, unquote, Brant said quietly, is to the Fuhrer personally. We all repeated it. I swear to you, Adolf Hitler, unquote. You remember the words, sir. Quote, do you take pleasure in twisting that knife, unquote, the captain asked. No, Brant's voice softened. Quote, I'm trying to understand how a man like you, educated, sane, can reconcile all this. You've called the party fools more than once. You despise the SS. I've heard you. And yet you drive this boat deeper into danger with every patrol. For what? For who? There you go. U-166, the Gulf of Mexico, 1942, The Secret War Below. On sale now at Amazon Kindle and your favorite local independent bookstore. Go out and check it out. Hey, this new segment of the show seems to be very popular. It's called Author Notes from your favorite authors. If you've got a great quote from your favorite author, please send us an email, bookinfo@nextstopparadise.com. So let's take a look at this week's author quote. Well, I want to thank you very, very much for coming by and for your support. Please tell your friends. We got some more great shows coming up. Coming up next week, we have our Irish special. We're going to highlight books about Ireland or books that take place in Ireland. We're going to talk about some Irish authors. If you've got a favorite Irish author, send us an email, bookinfo@nextstopparadise.com. We are continuing on. We are getting new viewers, new subscribers. We appreciate it very much. We're not monetized. We're never taking any money from anybody about anything. All we want to do is talk about books, review books, and share information about books here as we build this community. So thanks again for coming by. We'll see you next week. Get out there and find yourself a great book, ebook, or audiobook, and you make it a great week.